Hey there, and welcome to the stress management course that I have created for the final project of ID 212. Let's begin with the topic and rationale that I have chosen for this course. So overall, why stress management? For me personally, I know it's something that I have struggled with over the course of my college career, unfortunately, but I do know that that's pretty normal. So I chose to pick something that's pretty practical to my life and something I could use personally, and I know that most people probably could as well. At least I hope I'm not the only one who suffers from this. But overall, stress is such a prevalent response that affects a large majority of the student population, and not only the student population, but just in general. If you look over to this little graphic I have here to your right, this is just showing the number of students that are affected with mental illness. I chose this statistic because overall mental illness is reduced or is produced from stress. So 80% of students experience daily stress, and this can be eliminated to a certain degree with some of the coping mechanisms that this course is geared to produce for the is geared to practice for the students, excuse me. So 34% of students have felt depressed in the last 3 months. I know it's kind of straying off of my topic a little bit, but the root of these mental illnesses is stress. So I'm trying to reduce that overall, and that is the goal for this course. And the final one here, the project is focused on eliminating student stress and establishing organization and punctuality for student success. I think one thing that is an issue for students is just finding that overall balance between their various obligations. So whether that be a course, whether if they're an athlete, from personal experience, I was an athlete as well, and I think that kind of was a part of my issue too, because I wouldn't manage my time very effectively. So I wanted to offer to students and my audience just ways that we can prevent those little mishaps in our schedule and make use of all of the time. For the needs assessment here, I have two pretty minimal responses, but students that attend the course, we are just hoping that this course will enhance their organization skills as a result, and then hopefully with that, they will feel less stressed as a result of this course. So both existing and new qualitative and quantitative data for the sake of this course's success. So we want to see what we're working with at the beginning. We want to kind of get the feedback from students. How are they coping with stress currently, and how can they do better? And then just overall, we want to get their valid and hopefully honest opinions on why they think they're experiencing stress, because this can be something too that the instructor of the course can kind of observe and say, okay, this is our problem, and this is our solution. How can we get from point A to point B and overall decrease the stress that the student is experiencing? So I've kind of touched this a little bit, but the goals for this project here, we want to provide resources for the students. And I know I'll kind of touch on it a little bit later, the specific resources that we will be using, but we just want to develop their stress prevention skills. We want to see how they're preventing stress currently and how they can prevent stress. We're going to be guiding them through this course, and overall, we're just determined to help the students increase success and decrease stress. So that's kind of the background here. So we're going to go to the instructional analysis. So we have broken this into 3 different components. We have the context, the learner, and then the content. So as far as the context is concerned, we really want to consider that each student is different, and not only for this course, but every course in general. So each learner has various strengths, various weaknesses, various learning styles, and that's extremely essential to focus on. So we want to kind of dial in on that as well. So we want to consider each student and their individuality, because they're coming from different experiences and they have very different backgrounds. So some students may experience way more or way less stress than others. This is an essential step because different experiences can prompt different coping mechanisms. it's very interesting too. I know from my personal experience, when I experience stress, I kind of shut down and bottle that up. And not to, put anything bad on my parents, but they do the same thing. So it's interesting how that can affect your upbringing, can affect how you kind of cope as well. So we want to see, how are they currently doing that? Was that just developed from them? Or was that something they've observed in their household? And if so, that's absolutely fine. But how can we personally, or how can we just guide them to redirecting those habits? For the learner analysis here, we have some considerations for students who have learning disabilities. Of course, we want to make any course that we create, or just this one in general, accessible to multiple different students on multiple different levels. We want to make sure that they're aware of potential sensitivities, because this could also trigger some things for students as well. So we are obviously trying to stray away from that. And then moving down to content analysis, there are no prerequisite skills required for this course. It is just overall, if you are suffering or if you have experienced some stress, this is something for you. The content of this course will hopefully establish healthy habits. It's the main goal here. And then with establishing those, we're going to decrease the stress levels, because we're going to be practicing just coping mechanisms in a way that we can stray away from those stressors. The objectives is a huge component to this course, because we want everything that we do to align to back to these, redirect themselves back to these. So the first one here, students will compare lifestyles that represent successfully preventing stress versus one that lacks time management. So I think all of us can probably determine a schedule that is very black and white, is very is very timely, has everything blocked out. So overall, we need to establish those priorities. So what are those? So for most college students, it's to succeed in a degree and to do well in their courses. So, that kind of gears towards students needing better stress management skills in order to cope with various situations and obligations that will come. Because most likely, as you continue to meet more people, you will perhaps become involved in more things. So more things come up, and seems like less time is available. So we have that as our first objective there. Second, we have students will identify and practice coping mechanisms for stress and time management when that is exposed. And third, we have students will be able to determine the effects of stress on one's emotional and physical health, because this is a very valid thing, and it is a real thing. So for assessment here, each previous listed objective has a corresponding assessment, and we'll kind of go into this a little bit in depth later. But it just gives the students opportunity to practice their targeted goals. So here we have students will participate in a different assessment for each. For example, I have Asana. That is a great resource. It is for free, actually, which is even better. That is something that is very tangible for students in an online manner. So they can go through and create an online calendar, their to-do list, their priorities, when they're due. It'll set little alarms and reminders, which is helpful as well. And of course, some short answers, multiple choices, open response questions. But mainly it's a time of reflection. So how are we coping now, and how can we better ourselves and our situation? Instructional material. I've created on Nearpod this entire course, and I'll kind of go into this in more depth. But honestly, this is probably one of my favorite resources that I've used. It's very similar to a learning management system. It's created to engage the learners, and I really enjoyed that it was very user-friendly, which is always a great asset, but you can not only implement outside content, but you can also use the tools that they have as well, which is a great little asset that they have. So Asana, which I previously mentioned, is just a free online organizational resource that helps students prioritize based on due dates and other obligations. I think simply one of the things that could really help us is just kind of writing this down and really visualizing it and seeing it. For me, I'm a very visual learner. So it helps me a lot to see that written out. And finally, we have informative and instructional videos, of course, that are from Nearpod and also that I have brought in from different sources as well. This is a screenshot of my Nearpod presentation. So we have a couple videos, but that is the overall view from a student perspective of that. So of course we have some content slides, and then this is, I know you can barely see it, that's a little screenshot of Asana, and that is that organizational resource that I kind of briefly touched on there. And we have 2 videos. So this is a video here, and then that is a video here. And this is a web content, so it's very easy to embed various outside content, as I kind of touched on a little bit. And finally, the conclusion for this project. So the motivation behind this course overall, we just want to provide a resource for students to feel less tense. And this kind of comes with, as students continue to progress in their degrees or, just get higher in their programs, stress continues to just add up and contribute to our lifestyles, unfortunately. So we just want to ensure and encourage student progress through college and certain programs, whether it be, a media major, whether it be a lawyer, a doctor. Like, we just want to encourage all students that they can get through this and they can do it successfully. And a huge part of that is to organize your time. And, it seems like almost a little too simple, but it really does help and is a great solution to your problem here. So in addition, it says this course is specifically geared towards practicing time management, those coping mechanisms, and those organizational skills like I have harped on for this presentation. But I hope you enjoyed this ID 212 final project for stress management, and thank you so much for watching.